You could fly to Jupiter in about half the time it takes to get to Mercury. Let that sink in for a second. Jupiter, the colossal giant of our solar system, is on average nearly 800 million kilometers or 497 million miles away from us. Mercury, the tiny scorched rock, is practically our next-door neighbor, sometimes just 77 million kilometers or 47.85 million miles from Earth. Yet a real mission to Mercury can take 7 or 8 years, while a mission to Jupiter can take just 5. How is that possible? This isn't science fiction. It's not a theoretical riddle. This is the bizarre and counterintuitive reality of interplanetary travel, based on hard data from actual NASA missions. So forget what you think you know about distance and speed. When you're navigating the solar system, you're not driving down a highway. You're playing a game of 4-dimensional chess with gravity, where the shortest path is almost never a straight line. Today, we're calculating the real travel times to every planet in the solar system. We'll uncover why a trip to our nearby neighbor can take longer than a journey halfway across the solar system, and in the process, reveal the mind-bending physics that govern our exploration of the cosmos. The answers are more shocking than you might think. Let's start close to home with the inner rocky worlds. On the surface, these seem straightforward. They're our closest companions in the cosmic neighborhood, so getting to them should be relatively quick. And for 2 of them, that's mostly true. Take Venus. It's often the closest planet to Earth. Past missions have made the journey in around 3 to 5 months. It's a popular target for a reason. You launch, you coast, you arrive. It's about as direct as space travel gets. Then there's Mars. The red planet has been the object of our obsession for decades, and we've sent a whole fleet of orbiters and rovers there. A typical journey to Mars, like the one taken by the Perseverance rover, lasts about 7 to 9 months. That's a bit longer than a trip to Venus, but it makes sense. Mars is further out. But this is where our intuition starts to fail us. You might think we just point our rocket at Mars and hit the accelerator. The reality is far more elegant. Earth and Mars are both moving, hurtling through space at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. We can't aim for where Mars is. We have to aim for where it will be when our spacecraft arrives months later. This requires launching within a specific launch window, a period that opens roughly every 26 months, when the 2 planets are perfectly aligned for an energy-efficient journey. This trajectory, known as a Hohmann transfer orbit, is a graceful arc that allows a spacecraft to coast for most of its journey, saving an enormous amount of fuel. So Venus takes a few months, Mars takes a bit longer. Next up is Mercury. It's the closest planet to the Sun, and only a little further from us than Venus. So, the trip should be, 5 or 6 months? Wrong. Try 7 years. NASA's Messenger probe, which launched in 2004, didn't enter Mercury's orbit until 2011, after a journey of nearly 7 years. The joint European and Japanese mission, Bepi Colombo, launched in 2018 and is scheduled to finally enter orbit in late 2026, making its journey a staggering 8 years long. How on Earth does it take 8 years to reach a planet that is, at its closest, only 77 million kilometers away, while it takes just 5 years to get to Jupiter, which is nearly 800 million kilometers away? The answer is the single most powerful force in our solar system, the Sun. When you travel towards the Sun, you're not just moving through empty space, you're falling into the deepest gravity well in our neighborhood. As the spacecraft gets closer to the Sun, its gravity pulls on it, accelerating it to incredible speeds. If we flew directly at Mercury, we'd be moving so fast by the time we got there that we would shoot straight past it. To actually enter a stable orbit, we have to slow down. A lot. And slowing down in space is hard. It requires firing your engines in the opposite direction, a maneuver that consumes a colossal amount of fuel. In fact, getting into orbit around Mercury using brute force from a direct flight would require more fuel than it took to launch the spacecraft in the first place. It's just not possible. So, engineers came up with a brilliantly counterintuitive solution. To slow down enough to orbit Mercury, we have to take the scenic route. A very, very long scenic route. Instead of flying directly, missions like Messenger and Bepi Colombo perform a complex dance of gravity assists. They perform flybys of other planets, and even Mercury itself, to shed speed. Messenger flew by Earth once, Venus twice, and Mercury itself 3 times before it had slowed down enough to finally be captured by Mercury's gravity. Each of these flybys acts like a gravitational handbrake, using the planet's own momentum to slow the spacecraft down without burning precious fuel. This intricate celestial ballet adds years to the journey, but it's the only way to do what would otherwise be impossible. So, the great paradox of the inner solar system is this. Reaching the closest planet to the Sun is one of the hardest and longest journeys we can undertake. It proves that in space, energy is everything, and distance is often just a footnote. Leaving the rocky inner worlds behind, we venture out into the vast, cold expanse of the outer solar system. Here, the distances become truly astronomical, and the rules of the game change once again. Our first stop is the king of planets, Jupiter. Given what we just learned about Mercury, you might expect the journey to Jupiter to be a multi-decade affair. After all, it's more than 5 times farther from the Sun than Earth is. But remember the paradox. A trip to Jupiter can be significantly shorter than a trip to Mercury. NASA's Juno spacecraft, which launched in 2011, arrived at Jupiter in July 2016, a journey of just under 5 years. The Galileo mission before it took a little over 6 years. So why is it easier to get to Jupiter? The answer lies in the same force that makes Mercury so difficult: gravity. When we travel away from the Sun, we are constantly fighting its gravitational pull. We are climbing out of that deep gravity well. This means our spacecraft naturally slows down as it travels outward. This is a huge advantage, making it much easier for Jupiter's immense gravity to capture the spacecraft, and it requires far less fuel for braking. However, even with that advantage, a 5-year journey is a long time. But what if I told you we've made the trip to Jupiter in just 13 months? This is where we encounter a critical distinction in space travel: an orbiter versus a flyby. An orbiter, like Juno, has the incredibly difficult job of arriving at a planet and slowing down just enough to be captured into a stable orbit. This allows for years of detailed study. A flyby mission, on the other hand, has a much simpler goal: to just say hello as it zips past. The perfect example is the New Horizons spacecraft. Launched in 2006, it was the fastest object ever sent from Earth. Its main target was Pluto, but on its way, it needed a speed boost. And the perfect place to get one was Jupiter. Just 13 months after launch, New Horizons screamed past Jupiter, using the giant planet's gravity not as a brake, but as a colossal slingshot. This gravity assist flung the spacecraft onward, increasing its speed and shaving 3 years off its later journey to Pluto. It didn't stop, it didn't slow down. It just used Jupiter to get where it was going, faster. From Jupiter, we push on to the jewel of the solar system, Saturn. The journey here is another long haul. The legendary Cassini spacecraft, which spent 13 years orbiting Saturn, took nearly 7 years to get there. Launched in 1997, it didn't arrive until 2004. Much like the journey to Mercury, Cassini's path was no straight line. To gain enough speed to reach the outer solar system, it performed a series of gravity assists, 2 flybys of Venus, 1 of Earth, and finally, 1 of Jupiter. Each flyby added more velocity, building the momentum needed to cross the immense distance to Saturn. The journeys to the gas giants highlight the 2 faces of gravity. It can be a brake or an accelerator, an obstacle or an ally. For an orbiter, arriving at a planet is a delicate dance of slowing down. For a flyby, a planet is merely a gravitational stepping stone, a cosmic slingshot to propel it even further into the dark. Journey for a flyby that lasted only a matter of hours, and in the nearly 4 decades since, no other spacecraft has visited again. All of our modern knowledge of these worlds is still anchored to the data gathered by Voyager 2 during those brief encounters in the 1980s. And what about the most famous dwarf planet, Pluto? The New Horizons mission, which gave us our first stunning images of its icy heart, was the fastest spacecraft ever launched. Yet, even at its blistering pace, the journey to Pluto took 9.5 years, arriving in 2015. And just like Voyager 2, it was a flyby. There was no slowing down, no entering orbit. New Horizons had just enough fuel for its primary mission, and braking to enter orbit around Pluto was simply out of the question. These aren't weekend trips. These are generational voyages. A 12-year one-way ticket to the edge of the planetary system underscores the monumental scale of our cosmic backyard. It's a reminder that while these worlds are part of our solar system, they are almost unimaginably far away. They're secrets guarded by a vast and empty ocean of space that takes our best technology over a decade to cross. So far, we've been grounded in the reality of space travel, governed by fuel limits, orbital mechanics, and the strategic use of gravity. But what if we could bend the rules? For a little fun, let's imagine we could ignore the complicated dance of orbits and just travel in a straight line at a constant, blistering speed. Let's pick a speed that's fast, but still within the realm of our current technology. The New Horizons probe, our fastest spacecraft launch, left Earth at about 58,000 kilometers, or 36,039.53 miles per hour. Let's round that off and imagine a hypothetical ship that can maintain a constant 80,000 kilometers, or 49,709.70 miles per hour. If we could travel at this speed in a straight line to the planets at their closest approach, the travel times would shrink dramatically. A trip to Venus would take around 3 weeks. A journey to Mars would be a mere month. Suddenly, the inner solar system feels incredibly accessible, a month-long commute to another world. Even the outer planets come into much sharper focus. Jupiter, which takes a real orbiter 5 years to reach, could be reached in about 10 months. Saturn, a 7-year journey for Cassini, would now take roughly 1.7 years. The 8.5-year trip to Uranus would be cut to just under 4 years. And the 12-year odyssey to Neptune, it would now be a much more manageable 6 years. These numbers are tantalizing, but they hide a crucial truth. This scenario assumes we don't have to worry about slowing down. In reality, arriving at a planet at 80,000 kilometers per hour without a plan to brake is just a recipe for a very fast, very destructive crash. This little thought experiment shows why our real-world methods, like the long looping gravity assists, are so essential. They may take years longer, but they're the only way to manage the incredible energy required to actually stop and stay at our destination. Now, let's take it to the absolute limit. What if we could travel at the fastest speed possible in the universe? The speed of light. At roughly 300,000 kilometers, or 0.186 million miles per second, this is the ultimate cosmic speed limit. At this speed, the solar system becomes our playground. Sunlight itself takes about 3 minutes to reach Mercury and 6 minutes to reach Venus. A message sent from Earth would arrive at Mars in as little as 3 minutes, or as long as 22 minutes, depending on where the planets are. A chat with a probe at Jupiter would have a round-trip delay of between 33 and 53 minutes each way. Saturn, a little over an hour away. Even the distant ice giants are suddenly within reach. A beam of light would travel to Uranus in about 2.5 hours and reach Neptune in just over 4 hours. This is a profound realization. Even traveling at the absolute fastest speed the laws of physics allow, it still takes over 4 hours to cross from the orbit of Earth to the orbit of Neptune. The light from our sun, the very star that holds our system together, takes 4 hours to reach its outermost planet. This thought experiment does more than just give us impossibly short travel times. It paints a breathtaking picture of the sheer mind-numbing emptiness of space. It shows that our solar system is defined not by the worlds within it, but by the immense, silent void that separates them. The time it takes to reach each planet is far more than just a number. It's a story of human ingenuity, a lesson in celestial mechanics, and a humbling measure of our place in the universe. We've learned that space travel isn't a race won by speed alone, but a complex ballet of energy, timing, and gravity. The Mercury paradox that our close planetary neighbor can take longer to reach than the distant king of the solar system perfectly captures this truth. Getting there isn't about pointing and shooting. It's about mastering a gravitational chess game where the board is billions of kilometers wide and the pieces are entire worlds. The journeys of probes like Messenger, Juno, and Voyager are not just trips to other planets. They are sagas of patience and precision. They represent our relentless desire to explore and to understand the worlds that share our star. And while traveling at the speed of light remains a distant dream, the reality of what we can achieve is even more impressive. We have figured out how to navigate the invisible currents of gravity, turning the universe's own forces to our advantage. The solar system is on our doorstep, but as we've seen, ringing the doorbell is one of the greatest technical challenges humanity has ever undertaken. The gap between our current technology and the speed of light is vast, but every mission, every gravity assist, and every new piece of data brings us one step closer to understanding our place in the cosmos. If you love wrestling with cosmic puzzles like these and pushing the boundaries of what's possible, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. We tackle the biggest questions in science and engineering every week, and you won't want to miss what's next.